yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the breakdown of this trailer and kind of see what we can see here, because I'm sure that there's some hidden things that we're going to want to talk about. So let's jump into this one. At the beginning of the trailer here, of course, we've got Judas kind of coming in and Jesus meeting him. This is going to be really, really interesting, right?
Judas.
Because
Shalom, Judas.
Judas's relationship with the disciples and with Jesus is going to be something that is going to define the Chosen, at least in my opinion, right? I think Judas is a really, really important character to get correct, because he is one of the characters who is like, he's just so important to the story, right? Of what he does later on, how he's the betrayer and how everything kind of happens. But that character development of him getting into that place is going to be extremely, extremely important for us to understand how the Chosen is going to treat him and all of that stuff. It's going to be really important to see how his relationship kind of grows with Jesus and the disciples and all of it. I am excited to see the Sermon on the Mount and what's kind of continuing with that. However, we were just talking about this guy. I have no idea who this is. Like, this is not anybody that I recognize from season 1 or 2. It's not someone that I recognize that has been introduced in the behind the scenes. So this could really be anybody. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't look like anybody I recognize, but let me know. Let me know if you guys recognize him at all, for sure. Of course, we see Gaius walking around with his soldiers, and that's in Tent City, which is the same place where we see Simon the Zealot later on. We also see Simon, looks like Eden walking past in the back there, and we see little James. So this is probably in Simon and Eden's house. And Simon, we know, is having some issues throughout this season, right? And it's going to be interesting to see. And of course, Simon the Zealot, and this looks like a zealot. You can see him holding what looks like a Sikari dagger. And so, interesting. We're going to see what happens here, because obviously I don't think Simon the Zealot's going to be like killed or something. I don't think he's going to be like attacked by the Zealots necessarily, but he's definitely going to be questioned and confronted by them. We'll see what happens there. I don't know what the outcome of that is going to be, or if he's going to just be on the run from them, or what's going to happen, but we'll see.
Persecution is an ever-present part of it.
And then, of course, this is a huge part of episodes 1 and 2, is little James having this conversation with Jesus. Little James is distraught because of everything that he's going through himself, right? He's dealing with this limp. He's dealing with this thing that we talked about in season 2, right? Where he comes into the camp during the one shot, right? And he's talking with Thomas, and Thomas is like, well, what's your malady? And he talks about his limp, and he's talking about what's going on. And he's almost like self-righteous in a way, saying like, oh, all these people are believing in Jesus because he's healing them, not because, like they're not because they actually love him or whatever. And so it's, I don't know. It's interesting to see where it's coming from there, but we'll see what happens with him, and I'm excited to see the outcome of what's kind of going on, for sure.
Your ministry. Are you ready to do hard things?
Now, this line in particular for me is really interesting. Are you ready to do hard things? Because a lot of people are theorizing that Judas is specifically, he's going to be like at the end of everything, when he betrays Christ. It's not because he hates Christ. It's not because he doesn't believe in Christ. It's because he wants to push him. It's because he wants to push him to basically do the things that the Jewish people think he's supposed to do, right? And so, like, they think that he's supposed to, like, take over the Romans. They think that he's supposed to kill the Romans. They think that he's supposed to kind of be this big warrior that comes in and kind of destroys everything. And so, are you ready to do hard things? May be a foreshadowing to the point of Judas, like, doing the hard thing of betraying Christ in order to get him to do what he wants him to do, right? So that's kind of interesting there.
We will see. Follow me.
Yeah. So he's calling Judas to follow him.
Do not be anxious about your life. Whatever you wish that other...
Now, this is interesting. I love Jesus talking about the Sermon on the Mount in the background. But here is really, really important to me. Remember, we've been talking about since season 2. Remember, Andrew had that freak out moment in episode 7, really episode 5 through 7. He was really freaking out that whole time. And he really took it out on Mary Magdalene, like a lot, right? He attacked her basically at certain points. And so here he is at Mary Magdalene's house, and he's going to ask for forgiveness. I think this is an apology moment where he's kind of setting up to do that.
Do also to them.
And then also we get Thomas. I'm not sure if we'll see Rhema in these first 2 episodes. We probably will, would be my guess. And maybe this has something to do with that as well, seeing Thomas kind of interact with Rhema here.
This is the law and the prophets.
Or someone else, but I think it might be Rhema here. I'm not sure.
You have heard.
We see Matthew. Now, I think they're setting this up to be like Matthew talking to his parents, which it definitely could be.
That it was said, you shall love your neighbor.
Yeah, I just don't know. I think, so this could be one of 2 things. It could be Matthew going to his parents' house to talk to them, to discuss like what's going on with their family, or it could be him going to Mary Magdalene and the girls, because we've seen in the behind the scenes that he does go to them to help with some new clothing. And so that's where he gets his new clothing, is from the girls.
That it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy.
And so here's Simon the Zealot. Of course, the words in the background are very poignant to this point, right? You've heard it said that you should love your neighbor and hate your enemy. And so here Simon the Zealot is like dealing with this, right? He's dealing with these different things and these different emotions. And of course, Simon the Zealot, being who he is, he's come from a world in which he's learned how to hate his enemies, right? The Romans were like this big, big deal that he was like, oh, I just want to kill all of them, right? But now he's at the point where he's learning that he needs to love his enemies, right? And so things are flipped. It's the upside down kingdom of God, right? And here again, we see him being chased by someone. This is the scene that we actually have seen before, which I still need to bring up on this channel because we've only watched it a little bit. But this is the scene that we've seen before where Simon is running away from these people, and then he gets on top of a roof and he actually sees Atticus Emilius. So kind of interesting that we're seeing Atticus and Simon Z kind of finally meet for the first time, really.
I say to you, love your enemies.
So after he jumps up on this roof, he sees Atticus up there.
This prison is nothing now that he's here.
Yeah, John obviously being in prison, we know that he's going to die in prison, essentially. And we knew that Andrew was going to go see him in episode 1. And so we know that's when this is going to happen. And this kind of helps Andrew to reorient. After the freak out that he had in season 2, this meeting with John really helps him to reorient kind of where he's at, and helps him to get to that place. But yeah, this is going to be an intense scene. Another thing that we absolutely know about this scene from behind the scenes with Chris and Chris back in the day, like right at the beginning of season 1 when they were filming this, is that Andrew is not the only one here. There's another disciple of John, or another character that we're going to see here. I think it might be Matthias. There's some other theories for sure of who it could be, but we do know that there's another character that's introduced during this scene who is going to be kind of important because they mentioned him specifically in the behind the scenes.
The Lord bless you and keep you.
And of course we see Jesus and Thomas. In the background we hear, may the Lord bless you and keep you.
The Lord make his face shine upon you.
Maybe that's Thomas asking for Jesus' blessing for him and Rhema, or something else, but it's possible.
Be gracious to you.
Here's the other side of Mary and Andrew. And so, again, Mary is kind of like accepting this apology. They're having this conversation.
The Lord turn his face to you.
We see Matthew and Mother Mary. That's at the Sermon on the Mount still.
And give you.
And then, of course, we've seen this scene where it's a little bit of flirtatious time with Eden and Simon. A couple people got really riled up about this scene, but, who knows?
Peace. I have chosen you 12.
And this is the sending out of the 2x2, I believe, as they're kind of getting ready to go.
As my apostles. There will come a time.
Atticus, and this is the scene with Simon the Zealot, I think.
You will follow in my footsteps. And you will know what it actually means.
Matthew looking up. Is this his parents? Maybe? Yeah. We see, let's go back. Sorry.
And you will know what
we don't really have any context here. It's the way that he's looking, it's probably his parents. I wonder too, this is another theory that I had. I wonder too if we're going to see Matthew's sister, because we saw her in season 1. You remember that from episode 2? She was at the Shabbat dinner with her parents. That was before we had the now father of Matthew that we know. It was a different actor back then. So 1, we might get a different actress for his sister, but 2, I wonder if we'll see his sister at all, because we know that she's obviously part of the story. So maybe that's who he interacts with. That would be really, really interesting to see.
What it actually means.
And then we got Nathaniel Thomas. We got Big James and John. They're having this discussion here.
To give up your life.
So let's give that last sentence sometime.
To give up your life. You will follow in my footsteps. And you will know what it actually means. To give up your life.
You will follow my footsteps and you will know what it actually means to give up your life. Interesting. Huh. Yeah. Yep, that's it. All right, very cool. All right. Yeah, so good trailer. Interesting. We learn a little bit of things, but not too much given away on this one. Yeah, really, really interesting. I'm excited. Are you guys ready for November 18th in theaters? Remember that if you want to come and watch the premiere with me and Brandon Robbins, if you're anywhere near Nashville, Tennessee or Franklin, Tennessee, we're going to be in Franklin at the Thoroughbred AMC 20. We're going to be there at least at the 1 p.m. and the 7 p.m. showing, and we're going to be doing some different giveaways and stuff like that. So come and see us, come and say hi, and hang out with us for a bit. We'd love to see you guys. There's a bunch of stuff going on our channel right now, so make sure you go check out other videos if you haven't seen them, especially our video that came out yesterday. That one's really interesting. If you're looking for another show to watch before Chosen Season 3 comes out, that could be a huge thing for sure. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff upcoming, including the I Am the Law of Moses line that everybody's been freaking out about. We're going to be talking about that soon because there are some things that I want to bring up, and I've been waiting, kind of biding my time and getting all the information that I need to really talk about that well. And so I think me and Brandon Robbins are actually going to conquer that together. We're going to talk about that with you guys, so keep an eye out for that, and let me know what you think. Yeah, but anyway, hope you guys like this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.